And would the clerk call the roll, please?
Commissioner Look.
Here.
Commissioner Brassad. Here. Commissioner West. Commissioner Schulte.
Here.
Commissioner Meisner.
Here.
Commissioner Gamache.
Here.
Perfect. And next we'll move on to tax claims and abatements. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Second. And a second. Further discussion? Seeing none, we'll have a roll call vote.
Commissioner Brassad.
Aye.
Commissioner West.
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye.
Commissioner Look.
Aye.
And that motion passes. Next, we'll consider accepting the regular claims paid over $500 for the period ending October 14th, 2019, and purchase card claims paid for the period ending October 11th of 2019. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner West, second by Commissioner Look. Further discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner West.
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye.
Commissioner Look.
Aye.
Commissioner Brassad.
Aye.
And that item passes. Next, we're looking for an approval of minutes from the October 8th, 2019 County Board meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Brassad,
Second.
second by Commissioner Meisner. Are there any other discussion, corrections, additions? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And those minutes are adopted. Next, we have Chair's Remarks. Our first item under Chair's Remarks is to recognize the Law Library Director, John Murphy, for receiving a statewide award. Before we do that, I would like to recognize State Representative Peggy Scott, who's in the audience with us today. I understand she is shadowing one of our local judges here in Anoka County, and so she's with us today. Welcome, Peggy. Thank you. And with that, Commissioner Meisner does serve on the Law Library Board of Trustees, so please tell us more and introduce our guests. Commissioner Meisner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, first, I'll just share a little bit of the history of the Law Library. It is located in this building in the East Courthouse, and it was established about 30 years ago to support lawyers and judges and give them the most current material for their work. But as the legal system has evolved, so has the mission of the Law Library, and it's evolved into access to justice for all. And John Murphy is a great steward of that. He's actually right in the middle of cataloging right now to circulate all of the material within the Anoka County libraries at large. And he also goes out one day a week to bring to the community resources and navigation skills that he offers free to the public. So recently, Director John Murphy was one of 20 people honored statewide as an unsung legal hero and featured in the Minnesota Lawyer magazine. So joining us today is also Honorable Kristen Larson, who nominated him for this award. And I invite you guys both up here, and I would like Judge Larson to tell us more a little bit actually about the Unsung Legal Hero Award and a little bit about John's deserving merits.
Is this okay?
Yes.
All right, good morning. Thank you for having me and for honoring John. I am currently serving as the Vice President of the Law Library Board of Trustees. Judge Shuffleman, who's also present to support John, is the President. I was President for many years and thought it was time to pass that hat to a different judge. The Anoka County Law Library is really a unique collaboration between the District Court and the county. By statute, the county has to provide space and light and heat and things like that. And by statute, the Board of Trustees for the Law Library consists of 3 district court judges, lawyers from the county attorney's office, as well as the local legal community. Currently, we have a representative from the Anoka County Bar Association. So it's a unique collaboration. John was hired as the Law Library Director in September of 2016, and he did replace our former law librarian who served for about 30 years, so he had big shoes to fill. but he was more than up to the task. And I nominated him for the Unsung Legal Heroes Award. I had seen this award in the Minnesota Lawyer for many years. I immediately, when it came up again this past year, I thought of John, and it's to honor people who work more or less in the background in the legal system, not front and center, not litigators or lawyers who ordinarily get recognition, but to honor people that support the whole legal community as well as the public. And the first thing that John did upon being hired is help us renew and rewrite our mission statement. And the Law Library's stated mission includes enhancing access to justice for all, and that truly means all. As Commissioner Meisner stated, the Law Library's mission has evolved over the years to helping a lot more unrepresented people, self-represented people, as we now say, get access to legal resources. And he immediately enhanced that mission by increasing the amount of clinics that, especially the family law clinics, that were already occurring with a collaboration with Central Minnesota Legal Services. He doubled them. He started a clinic very soon for criminal expungement, and as you probably know, the legislature rewrote the statutes on expungement a few years ago, made it much more accessible for people convicted of certain crimes well in the past, particularly property offenses and misdemeanors, to get them sealed, which helps people so much with their future ability to obtain housing, employment, etc. So the legislature did that, but someone had to follow to help people know how to ask for this relief because it requires a court hearing. John filled that need and started a criminal expungement clinic so that people can properly fill out their forms and explain to a judge why they're entitled to that relief, because it is not automatic. He also continued and strengthened the collaboration that existed with the 10th Judicial District's Self-Help Center, making sure that people have access to the proper forms and information to represent themselves in district court. In addition, though, he saw a need to enhance access to the law library for lawyers. I think that the legal community had somewhat been forgotten over the years. Everyone has online access to everything, or so it was assumed, but that is not the case. Online legal resources are expensive. John made sure that the Anoka County Law Library got more printers, more computers, better access, more higher Westlaw package, so that when attorneys need to do some work at the courthouse very quickly in between hearings, they can get that help. Also, he increased the law library's offerings to the public who can't make it into the courthouse physically. So like the public libraries, he's trying to make things more available online. And he has done that. He's working right now, as Commissioner Meisner said, to make much more legal resources available online. There's a Facebook presence, there's a Twitter presence. There is one night a week when John goes and staffs a clinic right in the public library system in Anoka County. So the law library has become much more visible. There's also a very much increased, enhanced web page for the law library within the county's website. You can fill in a form and ask a law librarian, that's John, and he will get back to you very quickly. So that is a quick summary of some of the things that he has accomplished in 3 short years. We're very lucky to have him. He has not only a law degree, but a master's of library science. You cannot get a more credentialed person in that job. So I'm very happy that the Minnesota lawyer folks agreed with me, and thank you again for having me. I'll let you listen to John.
I just have a couple of short remarks. I just want to say I'm happy to represent Anoka County well. I'm happy to receive this award and bring more recognition to our county and what we're doing up here. And I look forward to continuing providing free resources, cost-effective free resources, and trying to help everybody that I can, both attorneys and, more importantly, the people who can't always get that help, both in the courthouse and around the county. So thank you all for recognizing me.
Well, Thank you, John and Judge Larson, for both being here this morning. We really appreciate it. And congratulations, John, and thank you again for your commitment day in and day out to serve our community at large and Anoka County's legal community. Everyone should have access to legal resources, and we sincerely appreciate your efforts to go above and beyond with your outreach efforts. Again, thank you, and if you join me in a round of applause. Congratulations. Thank you. And I would be remiss if I didn't recognize Ed Kramer in our audience from Linwood Township. He's a supervisor there. Welcome, and thank you for attending our county board meeting. Our second item is a quick follow-up on a recent event at Anoka County to help staff identify commonalities and appreciate differences. As the lead commissioner responsible in our cultural topic area, I'd again like to ask Commissioner Meisner to begin our conversation about the Cultural Day celebration.
Thank you again, Mr. Chair. Well, as the first person of color on the Anoka County Board, I can't tell you how appreciative I am to be working with this group. We are dedicated to diversity and inclusion in Anoka County, and as Commissioner Schulte mentioned, we did just have our first ever Cultural Day celebration. That was held here on September 10th. So it was a really informative and fun way for employees to get together. We had ethnic food trucks. We had one of our own emceeing, Darren McGowan, so he did an incredible job with his energy and actually helped to coordinate a lot of the artists there. And we had a lot of vendors in the lobby as well to kind of share what their culture was and their background. So it is my great pleasure to introduce Mike Roth as well as Eileen Waterman to tell us more about the actual day and future plans for the committee.
Good morning. Mr. Chair, board members, staff, and guests. I'm Mike Roth, the Diversity and Inclusion Coordinator, and it's my honor and pleasure to talk to you today about a great day that we had and works that we want to be doing in the future. I'd be remiss without acknowledging, I might be the coordinator, but it's really the people behind there that do all the work, and I'm sorry that a lot of them aren't here, but that's how they are. They work hard, but they don't want to get recognition, but I'm going to recognize them anyway. So we had our work group led by Commissioner Meisner, who is kind of the energy and some of the risk for us. Nancy Norman, who's not here today, but a longstanding member. She snuck in, like usual. But a longstanding member and brings a lot of energy and insight. Sadie Abdallah is one of the strong silent leaders. She does a lot of work behind the scenes, and it's a pleasure to have her with the committee. Darren McGowan, and he's going to talk a little bit today too, but if you were at the thing, you can tell where our energy comes from. He's the Energizer Bunny. And Eileen Waterman, who's been partnering with me in a lot of things that we're doing, she's some of the glue that holds this thing together. We had other cultural committee members that do other things, and I want to recognize them. Caitlin Cordum from the libraries, and she was a lifesaver because one of the vendors backed out, and within 2 weeks she was able to secure one and get one of those in there, so we really appreciate that. Christopher Beck, who he's a great recruiter and got a lot of people to attend. Jessica Bowe, who did about anything we asked and was there for us. Jody Raymond, and I think she's one of those longest term members on the cultural committee. And then John Creasel, who was there in spirit. He was out being trained serving the vets, so he wasn't able to make that day, but he gave us a lot of insight to that. And lastly, there's a special thanks. To do something, an event like that, in a big place like this, we needed some behind the scenes people that were able to coordinate. We blocked deliveries for 3 hours. So Amy Acker and Mark Flaherty and a score of other people from facilities really made that day. And then Laura Schmidt, who's from Environmental Services, she worked with those food vendors, and those trucks are interesting. And she was able to make sure that that was safe for us and they got their permit. And then Kathy Larson, who coordinated and diverted deliveries, and we had 4 deliveries during the thing. We were still able to get them in, so I want to thank all of them. But really, I want to have Eileen and Darren tell you about the day.
Hello, I'm Eileen Waterman. I am an investigator with Adult Protection. I've been with the county almost 17 years.
I'm Darren McGowan. I work with juvenile probation or detention services out at Lino Lakes. I've been here for 16 years.
So being on the committee, the cultural committee, we needed to ask, what could we do? Let's have a cultural day, but why? Why would we want to have one? To identify our commonalities and appreciate our differences. Also, an added bonus is to promote an improved working environment. 3 things that we all have in common no matter what race or color we are: food, entertainment, and music. You can see we had 3 food vendors. There were long lines for all 3 of the vendors. So the culture day was supposed to last from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. They stayed until everybody was fed, and the lines were past 1 o'clock. We had a total of about 11 exhibitors. One that is not listed on here but needs to be mentioned is DEED. It's voc rehab for people with disabilities, and they were there too. They had a booth. I'll pass the entertainment to Darren.
Thank you very much for having us here. When putting the music together, I wanted to make sure that all cultures, or as many cultures as possible, or we wanted to make sure that as many cultures as possible was represented and be able to show our commonalities. And so one of the songs I started out with was Humble and Kind by Tim McGraw. And I came upon that song working out at the detention center. One of the kids brought it to my attention, and it just has a really great diversity video to it, as well as values and integrity message. I also put Kurt Franklin's Smile song in there, another one of those great diversity videos, but it's an inspirational song. And so we thought that that song would be helpful in showing that we all need inspiration, and inspiration can come from many different ways, and music is a great way to bridge that gap. I also played Dancing in the Sky by Danny and Lizzie. I love that song and love that video. And in that video, it kind of talks about loss and resilience and bouncing back. And that's something else that we all share. Another project that we implemented was a group building activity, identifying artists from the popular music project, We Are the World. And so we got 4 contestants, and we played the song without the video. And if y'all as old as me, y'all remember that video and how popular it was, and whenever they were playing it, you had to rush home and sit down, make sure you got a chance to see it. And so I was drawing up on their memory and their ear. And the contestants were great. They wrote down what they could remember, and then we showed the video and let them see if they got it correctly. And it was a great opportunity for 4 individuals that might not have normally communicated or spoke to one another to have a discussion about music and that experience. Then we also showed some videos by a great nonprofit organization called Plan for Change. And if you get opportunity, YouTube Plan for Change, and it's a phenomenal nonprofit project that is have artists from all over the world playing one song to raise funds to pay for music projects around the world. And so me and Mike like to share those videos for inspiration. And so we continue to use music. And then I brought in a interpretive dancer, a local dancer by the name of Cecil Neal. He used a modern dance formation called crunk, but he also incorporates African and Caribbean style dancing. and he had a great narrative. I wish all of you have been able to been there and heard that audio that was playing, and it just kind of pulled out his resilience and his motivation and inspiration, and he danced to it, and it was phenomenal. And the little girl in the back, that DJ down there, that's my daughter. And so I had her as my video DJ, and she did an excellent job with it. She's super shy, but when Dad called up on her, said, I need you on this one, she showed up and she helped me out. My wife right there, she's my tag team partner and encourager, and so she supported me to go out there and be who I am. Crazy when you put a mic in my hand, and so I was inspired. I want to say I love this committee. They gave me an opportunity to tap into some skills that I had put away since college days, and so they're like, we're gonna give you the mic and you go MC. I'm like, you don't know what you're doing, but I enjoyed it. I loved it. I hope we have an opportunity to do more events like this. This committee has some great ideas and lots of energy. Thank you very much.
Thank you. One thing I want to mention is with that contest that Darren did, the winner got a $10 gift certificate for one of the food trucks of their choice. So that was pretty cool.
Well, very good. And thank you so much for being here. Darren, Mike, and Eileen, your comments here are so welcome. And how lucky are we to have you as long-term employees in Anoka County? It's overwhelming to see what you put together, and the whole committee, to all the efforts put in behind the scenes to make sure this was a successful event. I will say I attended. I walked through or past the entertainment and joined it for a little while, but on my way out to the food trucks, the lines out there were long, and it looked like everybody was getting pretty excited to eat that food. And I'm an impatient guy, so I did not wait in line. I'm regretting that now, seeing the photos and hearing the stories. Further comments?
Chair Schulte, maybe just to wrap up, I think it'd be remiss if I didn't talk about what we learned and what we're planning on doing. For the people that were there was a lot of energy. You could feel it, and we got a lot of comment back, and people are motivated in this area. So what our plan is to really focus on diversity and inclusion, which would include hiring, training, events, practices that we have, lunch and learns, developing employee resource groups, because what we want to do is take the strengths that people have and bring them, make this a better place to work, more inviting place, and I think if we do that, we get better production and we'll be even better. So we're to be moving ahead, and the people that said they want to help, we're going to be putting them to task. So we'll be reporting back to the board, hopefully in a workshop, of kind of the direction that we're going and what we want to do in the future. So we appreciate the support that we've had, and we'll entertain any questions if there are any.
Thank you, Mike. Are there questions or responses from the board? Commissioner Gamache and then Commissioner Meisner.
Oh, thank you, Chairman. I want to congratulate the committee for the great work that you've done. I was fortunate enough to sit on the Culture Committee for a couple of years and really enjoyed it. And when I knew that Commissioner Meisner was coming on board, I thought this was a perfect fit for her. So I asked Administrator Sivaraja if she would appoint her to that position, because I thought she could really help bring things along a little better than I could. But I really appreciate working with all of you for the last few years on the committee, and to see everything that went on that day. It was exciting, it was fun, everybody and people were learning things, and it was a great day. It was really an incredible day that you put together, so I applaud you for that, and looking forward to seeing more. Thank you.
Commissioner Meisner.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for that too. I do appreciate that. Yeah, just to follow up what Mike was saying, open invitation to all staff. This committee is comprised of all departments, all levels of work. Everyone is welcome. It is not just about what you look like, but if you care about diversity and inclusion, please reach out to any of the members here, and we will let you know how you can get involved. Thank you.
Thank you, and thanks again. Well, let's go ahead and jump into our committee reports. We'll move into the Management Committee report. Commissioner West.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Chairman. Sorry. Revert back. My information is just informational, and there are no action items.
Well, thank you for that. We will then move on to the Transportation Committee report. The meeting was held here on October 14th at 9 a.m. here in room 772. And we have a few items for action today. First, the committee recommends approval to enter into a license agreement with Linwood Township to allow the installation of an electronic message display sign in front of Town Hall. And I'm going to turn to Joe McPherson to see if there's any more information we need or if we should move ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, fellow board members. So this was a request from the Linwood Township. They want to put a changeable message board, or I should say an electronic sign board in front of their facility there, their town hall. And so as you can see in the picture here before you, the parking lot is pretty tight. The parking lot actually butts right up to the property line. And so it's difficult to find a spot in there. They need as much parking spot and space as they can to service their customers and their citizens. So we worked with them. We looked at the clear zone requirements that we need for that roadway. We looked at what the future may hold for that roadway. And from everything we looked at, the place that they asked to put the sign looks good. It meets our requirements, and we have no further comments on that.
Thank you, Joe. I will comment that this is currently in our unrepresented district, Linwood Township, and it does come to you from the committee with a unanimous vote to support it. Commissioner Luck.
Mr. Chair, I will make the motion to approve this and make a comment afterwards.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second? Second. Second by Commissioner West. Commissioner Luck, comments?
Mr. Chair, I'd just like to commend the township. I mean, they built onto this facility. I had an opportunity to tour this. And just the work they're doing around there. I know, Ed, you're heavily involved in a lot of this work, and as is former Senator Mike Jungbauer works there and has kind of contributed to some of this, and an opportunity to take a tour. So this is just one more addition to the nice changes that are happening out there, and I'm sure the residents are very proud. So.
And I would comment that Supervisor Kramer also completely runs the recycling organization up there, which is very large for a township, and we really appreciate that. There is a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Schulte?
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner?
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache?
Aye.
Commissioner Look?
Aye.
Commissioner Brastad?
Aye.
Commissioner West?
Aye.
And that item passes unanimously. Next, we'll move into the Transit Division, where the committee recommends approval of the Minnesota Department of Transportation contract in the amount of $120,000. This contract supports funding for the Section 5310 Transit Coordination Assistance Project, or TCAP, grant to study transportation services for enhanced mobility of seniors and individuals with disabilities. The total amount of the grant is $150,000, which includes a local match of $30,000. So they will be coming to us with $120,000. And I'm looking for a motion.
I'll move it, Mr. Chair.
There's a motion by Commissioner Brasted, second by Commissioner West. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Meisner?
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache?
Aye.
Commissioner Look?
Aye.
Commissioner Brastad?
Aye.
Commissioner West?
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte?
Aye. And that passes unanimously. And that concludes the transportation report. The rest is informational. Peruse that at your convenience. And we will move on to the Finance and Capital Improvements Committee report. Commissioner Look.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Finance and Capital Improvements Committee met on October 15th, and we came away with one action item, and we have a couple of chairs' reports to follow as well. The first action item is the committee recommends the County Board adopt Resolution 2019-F5, providing for the issuance and sale of general obligation capital improvement plan refunding bonds, Series 2020A, and the proposed aggregate principal amount of $10,690,000. Commissioners will recall that when we have an opportunity to refund or lower the interest rates on our bonds, we jump on those opportunities, and this is cost saving. You'll see in the amount listed here some of some of the dollars we save, I think a total $142,000 a year or $962,000 total on this. So interest that would otherwise be paid, we are able to recapture by refunding these bonds. So.
Very good. The item's before us. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner Meisner, second by Commissioner Gamache. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye.
Commissioner Look.
Aye.
Commissioner Brastad.
Aye.
Commissioner West.
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
And that passes.
If I can, Mr. Chair, I just want to clarify, that motion was to pass the resolution, is that correct?
That's right.
Okay. For the record, that as opposed to just the motion, it was a motion to pass this resolution. So the resolution, as part of the maker, the motion was offered before this body, is that correct?
Yes, thank you for the clarification. With that, we will move on to the Finance and Capital Improvements Committee Chair Report, action item 1.
Mr. Chair, thank you. We recommend the County Board adopt resolution number 2019-F6, approving the pledge of the general obligation of Anoka County, Minnesota to the payment of the Housing Development Revenue Refunding Bonds, Series 2019A, to be issued by Anoka County Housing and Redevelopment Authority. And again, this is another cost-saving opportunity for us. I think in this case, we're looking at issuing it to save $680,000. And what I will say is that maybe the third-party agencies that are out there that help us walk us through these refunding scenarios, they've been very diligent in helping us to know what bonds can be called or refunded or whatever options we have on the table. And because of that, we're able to stay on top of these and make sure that we're getting the best return for investment.
Thank you, and I'm looking for an offer of the resolution.
I'll offer the resolution.
The resolution's been offered. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Look.
Aye.
Commissioner Brastad.
Aye.
Commissioner West.
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye.
And the resolution is adopted. Next, we will move on to the additional item in today's agenda, which is the Finance and Capital Improvements Committee Chair Report number 2.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have a scenario in which we have a generator located out at the Sheriff's Office that has been, since it was built, not performing very well, requiring a lot of maintenance. Currently, we've invested $70,000 into a $200,000 generator. We're looking at investing another $60,000 if we continue to keep this. But the decision was to invest in a better generator that first of all could perform when needed, for the amount of time when needed, and didn't require the continual maintenance and breakdowns that this other generator was having. So the action item is that I recommend the County Board authorize the issuance of a purchase order with Ziegler Cat in an amount not to exceed $501,297 for the acquisition of a generator for the Anoka County Sheriff's Office. Arguably, this should have been the generator that was purchased initially, but unfortunately wasn't called out in the specification when we built that facility. That being said, we're making up for that deficiency and ensuring that we have a generator. And again, when we talk about the need for a generator, it's usually in a catastrophic scenario when you absolutely need it for perhaps up to 3 months at a time, providing power to that facility, and that's one of the facilities that would be a critical facility to maintain and keep running. So, a necessary investment.
And I would comment that it's listed as a generator for the Anoka County Sheriff's Office, but it's clearly as much for Anoka County Government Center as it is for the Sheriff's Office, as the data transfers to and from those sites freely. And so without that recovery site, without the generator there in a catastrophic situation, it does pose a real problem. So for this, I am looking for a motion.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
I
have a motion and a second. Is there further discussion? Commissioner Look.
Mr. Chair, just for clarification, the quote was for $421,979. And then there was an alternate for possible power feeders that may be needed at $79,318. So in the event that those aren't needed, then the amount would be $421,979. But we want to make everyone aware that the high cost could be the 501 as indicated.
I would also like to indicate that our purchasing department did utilize Sourcewell, which is a national conglomerate purchasing agency that arguably gets the best price you could get anywhere. It even beats the state contract regularly. So it was a good option, and this price is apparently, I don't buy generators this big very often, but apparently is a very good price. So, Commissioner Luck.
Not to continue this, Mr. Chair, but I did want to indicate the reason for the chair report is we're hoping to get a cement pad laid here before wintertime, and time is of the essence here to make sure we can get this done before things get a little too cold out there to get this work done. So,
Thank you. There is a motion and a second before us. Any further comments? Commissioner Meisner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just commentary. I was not part of this committee meeting, but I'm just very thankful that action is being taken quickly and our losses are being cut, and this is going to be very cost-effective and efficient. Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Brassad. Aye. Commissioner West.
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye.
Commissioner Look.
aye.
And that passes unanimously.
Mr. Chair, that concludes my reports.
Thank you, Commissioner Look. Let's move on to the Human Services Committee report. Commissioner Brassad.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We met on October 15th, and we have a few items here. The first is the consent agenda, which is recommending the County Board approve the 2020-2021 Anoka County, Minnesota Family Investment Program Service Agreement. And I'll move that.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Meisner. Further discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner West.
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye.
Commissioner Look.
Aye.
Commissioner Brassad.
Aye.
And that passes. Item 2.
Consider recommending the county board enter into the following contracts for 2020 Municipal Residential Recycling Program funding from both SCORE and LRDG. All 21 of our communities in Anoka County get funding from the state for their recycling programs. The 5 that are listed here have requested over $100,000. So due to that funding formula, it takes specific county board approval.
And I'm looking for a motion.
Second.
A motion by Commissioner Look, second by Commissioner Gamache. The 5 cities are Andover, Blaine, Columbia Heights, Coon Rapids, and Fridley, all in excess of $100,000. Is there further discussion?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, so to clarify, so the rest of the communities, it's because it's less than 100,000 that this kind of action is not needed. Okay, thank you.
Further discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye.
Commissioner Look.
Aye.
Commissioner Brassad.
Aye.
Commissioner West.
And that passes. Item 3.
Consider recommending the county board enter into contract renewal with General Security Services Corporation for Officer of the Day services in a maximum amount of $226,014 from December 1st, 2019 through November 30th, 2020. The Corrections Department has had a contract with GSSC for the past 19 years to provide various services in our courts. And I'll move that.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
And there's a second. Further discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Meisner.
Oh, I'm sorry, aye.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye.
Commissioner Look.
Aye.
Commissioner Brassad.
Aye.
Commissioner West.
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte.
And again, that passes. Let's move on to item 4.
This is recommending that the county board accept amendment to the Minnesota Housing Grant in the amount of $906,514,000 for family homeless prevention and assistance program services through September 30th, 2021. We had received an additional amount of $259,920 to make that total award. So we were very thrilled to get some extra money to help with the homeless. And I'll move that.
There is a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner West. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Gamache,
Aye.
Commissioner Look,
Aye.
Commissioner Brassad,
Aye.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte,
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner.
Aye.
And that item passes. Item 5.
Actually, the next two items, items number 5 and 6, because of the extra grant dollars that we're receiving to address homelessness, we are able to amend a contract with the Salvation Army and amend a contract with MAB Howe YMCA for the amount of the money that we are receiving in addition to the original grant. So I would be happy to move item 5 and 6.
All right. We do, I think, need to take them separate
Okay.
because they're separate contracts. So we'll take item 5 first with a motion by Commissioner Brassad. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Meisner. Further discussion? Commissioner Look.
Mr. Chair, just by adding these 4, 5, and 6 together, we're looking at $1.78 million. Is that correct for homelessness that we're spending in Anoka County in terms of grant dollars?
Commissioner Brassad.
The additional monies that we're just receiving is the $259,000. So that will bring the total grant up to $906,514.
As Commissioner Look, I think the total grant will be 906, and the two subsequent contracts, one for 620, one for 528, those are the total contracts with the additional added split out between them.
Perfect, thank you.
Further discussion on item 5. And again, we're voting on the Salvation Army contract at this point. This is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Look,
Aye.
Commissioner Brassad,
Aye.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte,
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner,
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache.
Aye.
Very good, that passes. And item 6, Commissioner Brassad, you make that motion again?
Certainly recommending that the board enter into the contract with MAB Howe YMCA.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gamache. Further discussion? Commissioner Meisner.
Sorry, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just commentary. It's so nice when it goes this direction with grants instead of the other way around, which is usually a loss of funding. Thank you.
Thank you, and I will say this isn't by accident. Our staff worked really hard in this division to make sure that these grants are written properly and that we do all the work on the backside or front side, if you will, to make sure that everything we do is looked upon positively by DHS and others who award these grants. So the harder work we do, the better we do writing these grants, the more likely we are to get those extra dollars when they do become available. With that, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Brassad,
Aye.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte,
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner,
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache, Commissioner Look.
Aye.
And that passes. Item 7.
Last item is consider recommending adoption of the resolution 2019-HS-19, which is the economic assistance bills, and I'll offer that.
The resolution's been offered. Is there further discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte,
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner,
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache, Commissioner Look,
Aye.
Commissioner Brassad.
Aye.
And that passes.
And that concludes my report.
Excellent. Then we'll move on to the Anoka County Public Safety Committee report for October 22nd. And we will turn to Commissioner Brassad.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We met on October 15th. We have 2 action items. The first is a recommendation for approval and execution of the 2020 law enforcement contract with the City of Oak Grove in the amount of $640,065 in a term of January 1st, 2020 through December 31st, 2020. We have contracted with the City of Oak Grove for Sheriff's Office services since 1997.
Very good. I'm looking for a motion.
I'll move that.
There's a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gamache. Further discussion? Commissioner Look.
Mr. Chair, thank you. We At the last contract approval meeting that we had, I opposed it based on the fact that we are a self-insured county, and we met since then to talk about some of the options available to us to try and limit our exposure, you might say. And that's still being investigated at this point and being determined what options are out there. So at this point, I will oppose this as well until we can determine how to better protect ourselves from a self-insurance standpoint.
Further discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Schulte,
Aye.
Commissioner Meisner,
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache,
Aye.
Commissioner Look,
Opposed?
Commissioner Brassad,
Aye.
Commissioner West.
Aye.
And that item passes. Item 2.
The committee recommends acceptance and execution of the DNA Capacity Enhancement for Backlog Reduction Program grant between the Office of Justice Programs in Anoka County, with a total obligation by the Department of Justice not to exceed $145,224, with an effective date of January 1st, 2020 through December 31st, 2021.
Very good. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Commissioner West. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gamache. I would just comment that it's interesting when a program is titled exactly what it is. It's a really long title, but the DNA Capacity Enhancement for Backlog Reduction Program grant. We're going to reduce the backlog of DNA testing. So it's, again, it's interesting that they title it that long, but it's also appropriate because you understand what they're talking about. Further discussion? Seeing none, this is a roll call vote.
Commissioner Meisner,
Aye.
Commissioner Gamache,
Aye.
Commissioner Look,
Aye.
Commissioner Brassad,
Aye.
Commissioner West,
Aye.
Commissioner Schulte.
Aye. And that item passes.
And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Commissioner Brassad.
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Look.
Just by way of clarification on that last comment you made, capacity enhancement doesn't mean allowing for more capacity. It means actively taking steps to reduce the backlog.
I think what it's, yes, it actually increases capacity to test DNA by eliminating all the old cases. You test all the old cases, and that increases the capacity for new cases. So maybe the title isn't quite as clear. But I don't think we want to make it any longer.
We're reducing the number and actively trimming it, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, very good, thank you. We'll move on to item 9, which is to consider a resolution 2019-127 relating to the appointment of Joe J. McPherson as the county highway engineer. I'm excited to offer this resolution myself, and I will open the floor to discussion. Any discussion? Commissioner Gamache first.
Oh, okay, thank you. I've known Joe for a number of years now, and have appreciated the work that he's been doing with the county. I think it's been exceptional. And being that we're appointing someone to this position because of part of the Minnesota statutes, Joe was really hired to be the next in line in case anything would happen to Doug Fisher, or he would move on or retire or whatever it was going to happen. So I'm fully supportive of Joe's position here. I think this is a good appointment. He has done a great job for us as the assistant county engineer. He is an engineer, so that's always helpful to make sure that you have somebody that's got the credentials, and obviously he does. And he's shown in the last number of years as the assistant that he can do the job, so I'm fully supportive. Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Meisner?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, first of all, I would like to start out with what we all agreed on at the Commissioner Workshop on September 10th, and that was truly the confidence in the abilities of Joe McPherson. Joe, you have established a remarkable reputation for yourself. You've been a tremendous resource for me personally and for District 4. Having said that, where I voice my disagreement is to the lack of process to fill the vacancy of our next transportation department head and division manager. I do not support direct board appointments for our top county positions simply because this is not a best practice. By directly appointing, we do not post jobs or conduct interviews. Our department heads and division managers are crucial to our daily operations, and once these positions are filled, they are usually filled for 20 years or more. There are 87 counties in the state of Minnesota. Anoka County ranks as the 4th largest. We are one of the biggest employers of the region, responsible for 2,000 employees that directly impacts our citizens. We are a grown-up county, and I think that Anoka County should be leading the way in best practices. We are a government agency that serves the public, and our duty should be finding the most qualified staff to serve our citizens. Staff development should be an area when politics are not as involved, or at least to the best of our ability, and when we have closed practices that benefit the few and not equal opportunity for all, we make it political. So I support investing in our staff and having succession plans in place. I support internal promotions, and I do want our staff to have opportunities throughout their careers. And I also want open and fair processes in order for them to do so. We do have a statutory obligation to appoint someone as our transportation department head and division manager. In the workshop, I did advocate to directly appoint Joe McPherson for 1 year. This would meet our responsibilities, show confidence in Joe's abilities, as well as give us time to post the job externally and conduct interviews, and I would encourage Joe to apply. So I will not be able to support this resolution, not because I question Joe McPherson's professional abilities, but because it does not allow me to serve the public to the best of my ability. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just need to clear a few points here. We are not appointing Joe as a division manager or department head, nor does the law require us to even have one of those. The law requires us to have an engineer. And Joe is our appointment to engineer. That's what this process is. This isn't, Joe may become our division manager at a later meeting as we negotiate contracts and decide if he's the right guy. I think Doug Fisher has done a fabulous job of succession planning, building a division, building a department that is very, very functional. This is one of the departments in almost every county that has the most problems. We don't have problems in our highway division. Things happen because we had a very strong leader who put in a succession plan. And I'm excited to move Joe into the engineer position and subsequently perhaps to division leader as time rolls on. I do want to take just 1 minute to read the resolution itself. This is a resolution relating to the appointment of Joe J. McPherson as County Highway Engineer. Whereas Joe J. McPherson has served as Anoka County's Assistant County Engineer since October 31st of 2016, and whereas Joe J. McPherson is registered civil engineer under the laws of the state of Minnesota, and whereas during his tenure with Anoka County, Joe J. McPherson has distinguished himself by his thoroughness, his professionalism, and his commitment to the transportation needs of the county. And whereas pursuant to Minnesota Statute 163.07, subdivisions 1 and 2, the county board is required to appoint and employ a county engineer to provide for services and oversight provided by and in Minnesota Statute 163.07. And whereas Doug Fisher has resigned his position as Anoka County Highway Engineer effective today, October 22nd, 2019. Now therefore be it resolved that the Anoka County Board of Commissioners hereby appoints Joe J. McPherson as Anoka County's engineer for a 4-year term effective today, October 22nd, 2019. Congratulations, Joe, you're a new highway engineer. Well, we haven't voted yet, but
Thank you.
We'll have some more discussion here, and then we're going to vote. Commissioner West.
I would just like to say that we would be remiss not to have prepared somebody or given Doug the opportunity to prepare somebody to follow him. We have a very complicated road system, and Doug is very familiar, Joe is very familiar with it, and he has proven himself as stated in this resolution, and I am very pleased to vote for him to be in this position.
Thank you, Commissioner West. Commissioner Breslin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I, too, am really excited to work with you, Joe. I think your past service has proved you well, the relationship building. I think it's going to be because of succession planning. I think this is going to be a smooth transition. And I think that's key to any big department that has so much responsibility. I really feel that there's a great team in place. And boy, every single time I drive down a county road, I'm thankful for the service that comes out of that department. So thank you, and look forward to working with you some more.
Thank you. Commissioner Look.
Mr. Chair, thank you. You know, transition is difficult. There's no question about that. We, you know, for many years, we're familiar with Doug and how Doug worked, and I think a lot of cities were familiar with Doug too and how he worked. And I've had the opportunity, because I know we've had a few projects in District 1 that we've been working on, I've had the opportunity to see Joe work with communities and to see the respect that they have for him early on really kind of told me what type of person you are and how you respected and handled those relationships. I think in 2016 when you came on, we had the Highway 14 bridge settling scenario that was catastrophic and had to shut 14 down, and those that drove on it were well aware of that pain. But I remember sitting there in the committee and as you were kind of new, you know, not just on that topic, but other topics too, you kind of would expect you to kind of sit back and let Doug take the lead. But in fact, you took the lead on a lot of these topics. And I remember thinking, I don't know where you came from or what experience you had, but my goodness, you know, this guy is taking the bull by the horns. And then you start rattling off the county road numbers. And I don't even know the county road numbers myself, most of them, you know. It's like, is that 56 or 24? Anyways, I know the name of the road. But anyways, he's the coming up to speed, I think, is where I've been most impressed with you, Joe, that you have not missed a beat and really done a great job. I think there is a process here. There's a process from direct appointment all the way through what Commissioner Meisner is advocating for in terms of going out. And I think we are following a process, and I am without question confident that you are the most qualified for this position. So congratulations after the vote, and
Thank you.
And we wish you well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Further discussion? Commissioner Meisner?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, I thank you for clarifying engineer versus department heads. And I do agree with absolutely everything that is being said about Joe McPherson's professional abilities. So thank you.
Thank you. And I would comment that out of our division, underneath Doug Fisher, has been born engineers across the state. Our assistant engineers wind up being chief engineers in other counties, whether it's Washington County or Scott County or Sherburne County or wherever it is, Carver County. They wind up being chief engineers because of the training and the planning that's done within our division. And thankfully that we get to keep one this time. And we're happy about that. And of course, Doug Fisher came to us internally behind John Olson back in the day. So this succession planning proves positive, and it bears fruit, as evidenced by our county highway system today. With that, seeing no further discussion, we will have a vote by acclamation. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed?
Nay.
One opposed. Joe, comments?
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board.
Well, we're very excited to have you here, Joe. We think you are going to be fabulous. I've worked with you. I want to bring up one short story that's just happened just the other day. I had a longtime resident of Coon Rapids call me from the Historical Commission. They want to put a small sign on the boulevard in Coon Rapids to recognize the area where Arby's is. If you're familiar on Coon Rapids and Crooked Lake Boulevard, that used to be a golf course. That was Mississippi Dunes, a 9-hole golf course. It was built by L.O. Jacob, former school district superintendent, got a school built after him. Anyways, they want to put a little historical sign there from the Historical Commission. And the city staff at Coon Rapids reported to them that you'll never get that to happen. It's got to go through the county, and that's too big of a process. So they called me, and I said, well, that can't be true because there's one right across from my shop on Coon Rapids Boulevard, recognizing some other historical sites. And so there's other ones along the way. So I just called Joe, and I could tell he was either boating or golfing, or he wasn't in the shop. It was a Friday afternoon, and he was probably with his kids, and I could hear all the wind in the background. But he answered every question. He was diligent. He said, "No, we got this, no problem. Just reassure him we'll make it happen, and tell him it's not a big deal." And that's how I like doing business. Joe, you did a fabulous job with that specific case, but that's just one since 2016. There's dozens, if not more. So thank you for that, and if you have comments, we're...
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thanks for covering for me there. I got a little, there's been a lot of emotions flying around the last couple weeks, and it's been a good time. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, I would like to thank you for the honor and the privilege to serve as the county engineer for the citizens of Anoka County and the board. I feel extremely fortunate to be able to use my talents and my abilities to directly affect the safety and welfare of the traveling public. Over the past 3 years, I've developed a true appreciation for the Anoka County Board and your passion and your diligence to make sure that transportation is one of our top priorities. And that's evident in the great relationships that we have with our local communities, our agency partners, and our public stakeholders. So thank you for that. One of the most rewarding aspects of this position is seeing the successes of the people that I work with. That may be all I got.
Well, I will comment, this is the first time I've seen a number of the transportation staff come to a county board meeting, so it's obviously as important to them as it is to you. And they're just as lucky as we are to have you here as engineers. So congratulations again, Joe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, now that we have a new engineer, let's move on to some committee appointments. We have 10A through 10C. We'll consider appointing Stephen Knudsen as the community agency representative to the Anoka County Children and Family Council for a 3-year term ending September 30th, 2022. And then item B, we'll consider reappointing Dr. Roger Warner, representing education, and Judge Spencer Sokolowski, a member at large, to the Community Corrections Advisory Board for 2-year terms ending October of 2021. And then lastly, we'll consider reappointing Craig Malm, representing Mercy Unity Hospitals, and Patricia Olson, representing Community Aging, to the Community Health Advisory Committee for 3-year terms ending December 31st, 2022. Is there a motion for 10A, B, and C?
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Gamache. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, I think that concludes our county board meeting, unless there's more to come before the board. Seeing none, we are adjourned. And if I could have you all hang out here, we'll start in